1 1 1 1 1 2 1 2 1
Fade
1
in
2 1
during.
2 2.
Revel in our mind what little dramas we have. An image, a thing so small that you can't render it properly, or so big that you can't render it properly. Fade into internal cellular dawn. Cells dividing irregular, forming a tumour on the right optic nerve. Pull focus to the apartment, Turin night, close up. Seen from above. Camera pulls quickly out of focus. Close on Nietzsche's open gaping mouth as he turns his head slowly.
Hello.
The bed covers fall back,
1 2
exposing the throat.
1.
His hand
2,
comes
2,
over
2, 2.
and clasps tightly across his still open mouth.
2 1.
This pan
1,
is
2,
almost a
1,
blur, following the turn of Nietzsche's head as he slowly pulls his body from the knot of bed covers. Cut to pitch black stairwell. Fumble off camera. A door closing. A sharp intake
2.
of breath. Voice
1 2
over.
2 1
A man's
2
voice says ominously,
1 2
to escape the birdcage, only to desire. Cut to this stone is always to fade out. Night, the camera being focused on the limitless darkness of a night sky. The camera tilts down from the sky view to show archway, night. Across its shadows moves Nietzsche. His pace never slackens. His quick, jerky movements give him the appearance of a small, scuttling spider. Cut to exterior, the cemetery, night. Dissolve 2. High above on a Turin, a sun-drenched winter's morning, we see Nietzsche stumbling along, travelling in the opposite direction. Note the prominence of the right eye, voice which almost appears to bulge out of the head, especially in comparison with the left eye. Cut. A dog actor is feeding another on street at the door, still dawn. The dog actor turns and, sliding themselves along the wall, slowly slinks off to the left as Nietzsche approaches, stumbling down the steps of the terraced street as if in pursuit. Cut to corner of a building, a crack of plaster render, close, a cold bluish cobble, a shoelace knot loosening, a scuff. Off camera. Off camera. Blood comes sudden and silent from a nose, running iron taste down lips and fingers into chest hair and onto laptop tracking pad. Command key C, X, D, F between R and E, and then pooling on. Cut to night sky. A watchtower. A hill. Tall tree. In a strong evening breeze.
Revel in your mind what little drama we have.
Partial voice over. Our breathing is a mere drawing in and running out again, accompanied by a slight disturbance of the heart. Breathing takes place very low down, in very short, weak breaths, at times barely perceptible. Our temperature is lowered. We feel depressed. Holding the breath produces no optical change. From blankness we proceed to confusion, or more expressively, from void to chaos, on our journey towards Cut to corner of a building, day, first one, then shot. The other, a crack of plaster render, a cold bluish cobble, a shoelace knot unfurling, a shuffle. Camera pans down a long, narrow window. Blue sky, to reveal a face so grim with thinking that it shrinks from its own image, as if it were a stranger. Cut to exterior, the cemetery, night. Camera meets Nietzsche's gaze. Day pan round slowly as Nietzsche follows the camera, the growth working retrobulbar behind the sight. Nietzsche steps into camera, pushes out though, out past it, out of focus and towards the piazza. Off camera. As I'm editing this film, a sparrowhawk brings down a pigeon in the back garden behind my flat, with a loud, blood-filled thud. A cave, a theatre, a cinema. This series of experiments continues with the sensations accompanying the act of standing still. In looking, the eye starts from the foreground and goes straight through into the background, and the scene is realized as a whole. This harmonious view of things comes to an end as soon as we stand still. We had expected to see the landscape better, but in reality we see it worse. We suddenly find that we have lost our hold on the third dimension. Instead of seeing the distance as distant flatness, it begins to look as if painted on a vertical wall. We no longer realize the landscape as a whole. The general effect has dropped to bits under our eye, and the bits are all we can see. Instead of looking into the landscape from in front, we find it more comfortable to lay our eyes first on the background and travel back to the foreground. We are changed beings, and beings changed for the worse. And it takes us some moments to become more acclimatized. Cut to a horse is crossing the street from Nietzsche's angle, unhurriedly but inexorably it seems to move towards Nietzsche. Here is now here. Cut is to nowhere. Here is something that never happened, about to happen. Cut to here. The crack of a whip, the butt of a handle, cut and the cry of a man. Cut to a horse lying, struggling on its flanks, gasping, clattering, slipping in the mud and dung and hay on the cobbles. Nietzsche rushes forward. Camera mimics the frantic energy of his movements. Increase the frame rate, lower shutter speed, destabilize and drop. Nietzsche throws his arms around the horse's neck, absorbing the power of its phantom, failing muscles. From Nietzsche's POV, the spectral whips of a coachman. Cut to the ghostly heat of the air. Fade to morning, exterior, pan, building facade. Witness, 1911. With a cry, he flung himself across the square and threw his arms about the animal's neck. Then he lost consciousness and slid to the ground, still clasping the tormented horse. Fade in. Street. A man holding a picture photograph of a horse. Cut to early archive footage of a man's feet exterior across a cemetery on the 3rd of January 1889 or thereabouts. He tearfully embraced. Cut to early archive footage of a man's feet running across cobbles. A cave treated nag. 1920. Cut to as Nietzsche exterior bluish Nietzsche rushes forward. A shoelace arm day next building day. Off Nietzsche camera rushes forward. Camera follows. Close shot. Camera meets Nietzsche's gaze. Shoelace knot unfurling. Voice next over. Cut to 9 or thereabouts. He tearfully embraced a mistreated nag in the street.